I'm being joined by Major General Bipin Bakshi from New Delhi. He's a former IG at NSG and Division Commander of the Indian Army. Major General, thank you so much. Pleasure having you here. It's an honor. Sir, to begin with, I just spoke about, and this is what we heard from the Foreign Secretary himself regarding Pakistan using Pakistani airspace and using international airlines and flights in Pakistani airspace, not telling them, not shutting down its airspace, using them as human shields. 1 inch here and there, any damage which could have been caused to any one of these international flights, there would have been an international uproar. That is what India is dealing with here as Pakistan continues to fire at civilian and military infrastructure within India. Give us a sense of how Pakistan is resorting to all kind of means, no matter how, without any scruples, without any models, and fighting this against India. Is it a new low for Pakistan?
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show, Nant. You mentioned about using international airliner as a shield. It is not new for Pakistan. Right from the 47-48 campaign, they tried to conceal the Pakistan army troops behind what they called Kabaliyas, who entered into Kashmir, and they kept on claiming right till the end, and even the UN mandate was achieved on the ground that Pakistan army never entered Kashmir, whereas actually they did. What they did in East Pakistan in 1971 and even thereafter, I would remember 95 or so, they had sent in an operative which burnt down the Kashmir's Chirare-Sharif. So while in recent times, you may say it's a new low, but then if you look at the attack on Taj, where they killed so many innocent international people, so this is a history which Pakistan keeps on repeating itself.
Sir, also, I wanted to understand from you the role of the international community, and when I say that, I'm essentially referring to the US over here, because there have been differing statements that are coming in from the US. Once you hear the US president saying that he's willing to mediate between India and Pakistan, on 22nd of April after that, Donald Trump was soon spoke with the Indian Prime Minister expressing condolences and condemning the attack in Pahalgam. Sir, I'll request you to please hold on with me. There is a breaking development which is coming in. I'll need to go to that. I will come back to you. Please stay on. That was Major General Bipin Bakshi here. Major General, another point that I was referring to before we had to cut for that breaking news, the role of America at this point. While the US president was quick to condemn the Pahalgam terror attack, he even offered to mediate. And then there came a statement from Vice President J.D. Vance saying it is none of America's business about what is happening between India and Pakistan. And then today we've heard from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, again suggesting that he's willing to mediate. Give us your stance of where US stands in this entire conflict, or what the stance of US and perhaps even China is.
Yeah, as you last mentioned, their Secretary of State, which is like their foreign minister,
yes,
has had a word not with the civilian counterpart, but with the Pakistan Chief of Army Staff.
Yes.
That is what was the news in the morning. Connecting further to what you just last said, that as of now, it is more of military and the political will come later, I will take you back again to the history. The only time when Pakistan agreed to a cessation of hostilities without international intervention was 1971, when they had a complete military defeat. So until and unless there is a complete military defeat, the only way this conflict ends is with international intervention. So you were very right in bringing in what you mentioned about USA. But I would also like to bring in here the aspect of China.
Yes.
Because as I was mentioning in another talk some time back, around 30 years back, we used to say that the only thing which matter to Pakistan are Allah, Army and America. Now, the American influence to some extent has waned in the recent years. And as you're aware, with the CPEC coming in, the Chinese influence has really increased. So now coming back, will there be an exit? Will there be an off-ramp? I don't see Pakistan taking an off-ramp on its own, unless its back is to the wall, or unless there is a strong international intervention. So we don't want to escalate to the point where we are going to completely break their war machine. We are taking very precise, very measured steps, which are non-escalatory in nature. In every day's briefing, you will hear our Foreign Secretary saying that we are non-escalatory.
Rightly said, sir.
It is up to Pakistan to take the discipline to de-escalate at a point. But now coming back to their history, the de-escalation, the off-ramp will only come either with a complete military annihilation or with a strong international intervention.
Major General, as you mentioned, you went back to 47, and whether it was the 40s, whether it was the 60s, the 70s, or in the 90s, and now we're in 2025. Pakistan has lost every single time, but this time, and we've spoken with a lot of analysts, they are suggesting that Pakistan is really eager to keep this war on and escalate. And we've been seeing this through their actions, that escalation after escalation, breaking all bounds, even though India is still managing to respond responsibly, calculatively, and in a measured fashion. But Pakistan is breaking all molds of any kind of measure here. What is Pakistan really eager for to keep this war going, given that precedents only suggest that they've lost every single time?
So you are imposing your thought process, which is a logical thought process on this.
Understood, sir.
But there is a concept of the rationality of irrationality. So as you just said, they lost all the wars, but they don't think so.
Understood.
They say, well, we didn't win, but not winning is not the same as losing. So it is they have a very irrational way of going about this. And as I said, until and unless their back is to the wall or there's a strong international intervention, they don't have a very, very rational approach to all this.
Sir, you have mentioned international intervention a few times in the previous responses as well. Where do you feel that intervention can come from to bring any kind of calm now at this point, because escalation is continuously coming in from Pakistan's side? Who can bring that calm at this point from the international community?
So you have mentioned, well, US is a very strong player.
Of course.
We've had interventions. Right today morning, as was just mentioned, the US Secretary of State spoke to the Pakistan Army Chief. What I'm looking for also is the role which may be played or may not be played by China in the future. Whereas as of now, China has no great interest in getting this conflict to de-escalate. They would have an interest to de-escalate at a point of time whenever it suits them. As of now, it is their arms and equipment, their missiles which they have supplied to Pakistan, which are utilized and being war tested, so to speak.
Understood.
So as of now, it might be suiting the interest of China to keep it going. But at a point of time, I am hoping maybe with the help of Russia, we should get China also to intervene in this conflict.
Major General, you have known the previous wars closer than any one of us here at this point. From your reading of the past and what you're seeing right now, how much of what is happening right now is different from Pakistan's usual playbook of what they've done in the past?
Well, if you look back even at Op Vijay, Kargil,
yes, sir.
You look at Op Parakram time, at no point did our air defense come into play, because no Pakistani aircraft or no Pakistani munition crossed the border or the line of control even in Op Vijay. This time around, with the drone warfare having come to the fore, you are finding a lot of munitions which are going trans-border, but without the crossing of military personnel. So both of us are able to target a lot of important installations and facilities on either side without using our military personnel to cross the line. So that is one difference. The other main thing is that we have been able to hit most of our targets, I would say all of them, and they have hardly been able to inflict any damage. So this time around, they will find it very difficult to sell to their public their notion of victory. As I was mentioning, not winning is not the same as losing. They also have this concept of notion of victory. They will just, give some spin to some small thing and say, well, this was a victory.
Major General, and this is again as per analysis from the previous, this being the third surgical strike. Of course, the Operation Sindoor happened, then 2019 we saw before that, and the surgical strike before that. India has taken anywhere between 10 and 15 days to calculate, responsibly respond to the provocations that have come from the Pakistani side. But when the Pakistani side comes in, they don't waste any time. It happens within hours. We saw it after the Balakot airstrikes. We saw it after Operation Sindoor. It only goes further on to show that for India's side, India maintains responsibility in terms of only targeting terror infrastructure. But when it comes to Pakistan, for them, of course, they will find no terror infrastructure in India, but for them, civilians, military infrastructure, it's all the same. That's why they need to take no time for any kind of planning. Or is there something else to it?
So whenever they have upped the ante, they have already been preparing for India to take action. So therefore, they take no time to react, and their reaction is wanton, indiscriminate. Ours is deliberate, measured, and very, very precise. We try to keep it controlled. So therefore, I would say this particular time difference. But you drew a reference just now to the surgical strikes which happened earlier on the ground,
yes,
the 2019 Balakot attack. In both the cases, our military personnel crossed the border or the line of control.
Yes, sir.
And immediately after that, in 2019, their fighter aircraft crossed the border. This time around, so far, no military personnel have crossed the border. So there's a fine difference in this.
You've highlighted a very important point there, sir. That is a very major difference between Operation Sindoor and what we've seen earlier in the past. Going back to a point that Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri mentioned, and he mentioned this in yesterday's press briefing as well, and again today, and gave it more stress today, in fact, how Pakistan is very meticulously targeting Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab when it comes to a certain narrative that India is trying to target in its own religious sites. And to put it a little more specifically, it spoke about Anandpur Sahib in Amritsar, and we of course understand the other spiritual significance in Amritsar and of course in Jammu and Kashmir. Now at this point, what is exactly Pakistan going for here? They're trying so desperately to sow seeds of discord within India. Is that only showing Pakistan's desperation to get the war off its own front and let it just burn inside India?
I would agree with what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
What you also have to understand is that what is happening in Poonch, Rajouri, certain areas which are very close to the border, it is artillery shelling which is also causing some of these casualties, including to the Poonch Gurdwara. Now, this is lower altitude, dumb ammunition, and nobody has any system to stop an artillery shell in its tracks. But deeper inside, what they're doing in other areas in Punjab, they are sending armed drones, which have a longer trajectory. It permits us and our air defense to stop them, and we are able to have a much better success there. Now, whether this is a very, very deliberate attempt to draw these communal divides, as you're, I think, hinting at, as you said, this is like a last-ditch effort. What you would have also seen today, they have called the nuclear authority. There's a meeting there. So the nuclear saber rattling is also on. I would say desperate attempts, but again, knowing the rationality of irrationality, one does not know which way it would go.
Major General, I want to again pick your brain on this one. As per your appreciation and your assessment, what are the chances that Pakistan can really pull that trigger, regardless of how many nuclear NCA meetings they may try to have? They've been saber rattling on the nuclear front time and again. It's a standard part of their playbook. Whenever anything they are faced from India's side, that's the first thing they say. Even after Pahalgam, they said our nuclear missiles are facing towards you. They're not just for show. What are the chances Pakistan can resort to that?
Well, in my personal opinion, nuclear weapons are only possessed by a country to prevent war and to make sure that they are not used. So it is a non-use kind of a weapon. It's a deterrent, so to speak. We know very well we have a no force fuse policy. They have not yet, clearly articulated it, but they have said that only if Pakistan's existence as a state is under threat and certain red lines are crossed, only then they would use nuclear weapons. I don't see that happening right now. And I don't see the world, including China and Pakistan, permitting the nuclear bogey to go up beyond just nuclear saber rattling, as you have just said.
Major General Bipin Bakshi, it was It was an honor speaking with you, and definitely an education as well, as you brought in anecdotes right from the 40s, bringing in and explaining how Pakistan really functions and how it really thinks and what you expect Pakistan will and won't do going forward. I'll definitely love to have you on the broadcast once again. That was General Bipin Bakshi speaking with us here on WION World as well.